Imagine stepping onto a plane, holding a first-class ticket that you rightfully paid for, only to be told you don't belong there. Now imagine you're calm, polite, and professional, and still, you're escorted out simply because someone thinks you don't look the part. That's exactly what happened to a black shot traveling alone, minding his business, and unknowingly walking into a situation that would spark massive consequences for an entire airline. This is the story of Marcus Jenkins, a highly successful entrepreneur and CEO of a multi-million-dollar tech company. Marcus had built his business from the ground up. Despite humble beginnings, he climbed every mountain put in front of him, eventually earning a reputation as one of the sharpest minds in tech. But on this particular day, none of that mattered. Marcus had booked a first-class seat on a major airline for a business trip. He arrived early, dressed in business casual, carrying nothing more than a laptop bag and a quiet confidence. After checking in and clearing security, he boarded the plane like any other premium passenger. But shortly after he took his seat, a flight attendant approached him with a puzzled look. "Excuse me, sir, I believe you're in the wrong seat." Marcus smiled and calmly replied, "No, this is my assigned seat, a 1A." The attendant, visibly skeptical, asked to see his boarding pass. Marcus handed it over without hesitation. She glanced at it, clearly surprised to see that it did, in fact, confirm his seat in first class. But instead of apologizing and moving on, she asked him to step aside for further verification. Moments later, a gate agent boarded the plane and told Marcus he needed to deplane for questioning. No real explanation was offered. They said there had been a computer error and that his ticket might not be valid. Despite having a digital receipt and confirmation on his phone, Marcus was told to leave the plane, and he did it calmly, quietly, with dozens of eyes watching, some passengers whispering, others pretending not to notice. Eventually, after a 30-minute delay and further review, Marcus was allowed back on board. No apology, no compensation, just a tight-lipped confirmation that he was clear to fly. But by then, the damage had already been done, and not just to Marcus's dignity, but to the airline itself. What the staff didn't know, or what they couldn't have imagined, was that Marcus Jenkins wasn't just another first-class passenger. He was the CEO of a private equity firm that was in late-stage talks with that very airline. The deal? A $200 million investment that would help the airline expand its operations, upgrade its fleet, and modernize its digital infrastructure. That investment, dead. Marcus pulled out the very next day. He didn't trace his voice. He didn't go to the press. But word traveled quickly through the business world. Investors took notice. Stock prices dipped. The story got out quietly at first, then loudly, as anonymous insiders shared details with news outlets. Within days, the airline's reputation was in question. Their diversity and inclusion practices were scrutinized. Former employees came forward with stories. The narrative was no longer just about Marcus. It had become a broader reflection of systemic bias and racial profiling in corporate America. The airline's PR team scrambled. They issued a carefully worded statement about their commitment to equality, respect, and customer satisfaction. But it was too late. Shareholders weren't buying it. Customers weren't either. Social media erupted, and hashtags calling for accountability trended for days. Some influencers and celebrities vowed never to fly with the airline again. Meanwhile, Marcus continued with his life and his business. In an interview weeks later, he said, "It wasn't about revenge, it was about principle. I didn't pull the investment to punish AMA. I pulled it because I couldn't, in good conscience, support a company that treats people like that." He added that it wasn't the first time he'd been mistaken for someone who didn't belong, but it was one of the most disappointing. "It's not about me being rich or successful, it's about how many people, young professionals, students, workers, go through things like this without the power to push back." This story isn't just a cautionary tale for corporations. It's a lesson in humility, respect, and the hidden cost of bias. The airline lost $200 million, and not because of a formal complaint or a lawsuit, but because someone underestimated a man based on how he looked. Marcus Jenkins didn't need to shout. He didn't need to threaten. His silence, backed by principle, was enough. And for that airline, the price of prejudice was paid in full.